The city was alive with neon lights, bright signs flashing above the wet street. But no one looked down. No one cared about what lay in the shadows. The rain had just stopped, leaving dirty puddles everywhere. Trash floated along the edges of the cracked road. A group of dogs barked and circled a small metal bowl filled with leftover scraps. Beside the bowl, shaking and half hidden in an alley, was a thin, alien woman. Her body looked weak, her clothes torn, and her skin had turned pale from hunger. She tried to reach for the bowl, but the dogs growled, baring sharp teeth. For a moment, she pulled her hand back, afraid. Then hunger pushed her forward. She dropped to her knees and crawled on the wet ground. The dogs barked louder, but she pushed her face toward the bowl. She did not care anymore if they bit her. She was starving. Her hands shook as she scooped some food from the bowl and pushed it into her mouth. It was cold, dirty, and meant for animals. But for her, it was life. On the other side of the street, people walked by without stopping. Some slowed down just to watch. A few laughed, pointing fingers at the sight. One man even raised his small hollow device and started recording. "Look at that," he said. "Eating from a dog's bowl, disgusting." Others simply shook their heads and hurried on, not wanting to get involved. The alien woman's eyes filled with tears as she chewed. She wanted to hate them, but she no longer had the strength. Her pride was already broken. She was nothing but a shadow of what she once had been. That was when someone different appeared. A human man stood on the corner of the street, holding a bag of groceries. He was not tall, not dressed in anything fancy, just a simple traveler who looked out of place in this alien city. His eyes caught the scene by chance. At first he thought the figure crouched near the dogs was another beggar. But when he looked closer, his chest tightened. He saw the woman's thin hands, her weak body trembling, and her face, alien, but strangely human in its suffering. She was fighting with stray dogs for scraps. His throat went dry for a moment. He froze. He had seen hunger before back on Earth, but never like this. Never someone pushed so low that she had to eat from a dog's bowl in front of a laughing crowd. The woman noticed him staring. She lifted her head, eyes glowing faintly in the neon light. Her gaze was sharp, not with strength, but with fear. She expected him to do what the others did, to mock her, to turn away, maybe even kick her. Her lips trembled as she hissed weakly like an animal cornered. The human did not move closer, not yet. He looked at the people walking by, the ones ignoring her, the ones laughing. He felt anger rise inside him. How could they just walk past? Didn't they see she was dying? One of the dogs snapped at the woman and she yanked her hand back with a whimper. She curled up, hugging herself, and waited for someone to hit her. Instead, the human took a step forward. His boots splashed in the puddles as he crossed the street. The neon light reflected on his face, showing his determination. People nearby turned their heads, curious. "What is he doing?" Someone whispered. "He's going near her," another said with a laugh. "He'll regret that. She's filthy." The man ignored them. He knelt down slowly, keeping his hands open so she would not think he meant harm. The dogs growled but backed away as he tossed them a small packet of dried meat from his grocery bag. While they ate, he turned back to her. Her eyes widened in confusion. No one had ever done that before. "You don't have to eat from that," he said softly. His voice was calm, human words simple but clear. She did not understand all of them, but his tone was different from the others. Not cruel, not mocking. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She was too weak, too shocked. The man reached into his bag and pulled out a small container. Steam still rose from it. It was a hot meal he had bought just minutes ago for himself. Without thinking twice, he held it out to her. The smell drifted through the air. Warm broth, soft bread, fresh vegetables. Her stomach growled loudly and her eyes filled with tears again. The crowd murmured. Some laughed, some shook their heads. "Crazy human," one alien spat. "She's not worth it." But the human did not listen. He just pushed the container closer. The woman stared at it as if it were not real. Her hands trembled, reaching out, pulling back, reaching again. At last she touched the warm container. The heat burned her fingers slightly, but it was proof. It was real food, not scraps, not garbage. She looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. "Why have food?" The human didn't answer right away. He just met her eyes, steady and calm. Then he said the only thing that came to mind, "Because you need it." The street grew silent for a moment, as if the neon lights themselves paused. The woman's tears fell freely as she lifted the food to her lips. For the first time in days, she ate real food, and for the first time in her life, someone had shown her kindness. And yet, deep inside, a shadow of fear remained. She knew kindness in this city always came with a price. The steam from the container rose into the cold night air. The alien woman held it in both trembling hands, almost afraid to taste it. She lifted a small spoonful to her lips. The warmth touched her tongue and her whole body shivered. It was not scraps, not dirty leftovers, it was real food, rich and filling. She closed her eyes and let the taste spread through her mouth. For a moment, the world around her disappeared. No more laughter, no more cold streets, no more barking dogs. Only the taste of life returning. The human watched her carefully. He saw how slowly she ate, as if every bite might vanish if she moved too fast. She tried to stop herself from crying, but tears kept falling. She had not cried when mocked, not when starving, but now with food in her hands she broke down. "You'll choke if you don't slow down," he said softly. His voice was calm, steady. She tried to answer, but words failed her. Only a weak nod came from her as she forced herself to eat slower. The people nearby were not impressed. Some aliens muttered insults. Others sneered and walked away. A tall merchant scoffed loudly. "Stupid human," he said. "Do you even know what you're feeding? That thing is an exile, dangerous." The human's jaw tightened, but he ignored the words. He focused only on her. When she finished half the food, she finally lowered the container. Her body shook less now, though her eyes were still wet. She looked at him with suspicion and confusion. Her lips opened and she whispered in a broken voice, "Why, you help?" The human tilted his head as if the question surprised him. He did not know the full answer himself. He only knew that when he saw her with the dogs, his chest hurt in a way he could not ignore. "Because no one else would," he said finally. Her eyes flickered with something. Pain, disbelief, maybe even a small spark of hope. But not everyone around them agreed. The food stall's owner, a middle-aged alien with 4 eyes, came out from behind the counter. His face twisted with anger as he slammed a hand on the wooden table. "Hey, human! Take that creature somewhere else. I don't want her filth near my stall." The woman flinched at the loud voice. She curled up, hugging the container, ready to be thrown out again. The human stood up. "She's not hurting anyone," he said. The stall owner's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand. She's not just some beggar. She's one of them. If the guards see her here, they'll destroy my shop and arrest us all." The woman gasped softly. Her face paled even more. She clutched the food tighter as if afraid it would be taken away. The human looked from the stall owner to the woman. He did not know her story, not yet, but he saw the fear in her eyes. He saw the way she shook at the mention of guards. "She's starving," the human said firmly. "And if your city lets someone die in the street, maybe it's not her who's dangerous." The stall owner spat on the ground. "Fool, you'll regret this. That species is cursed." He turned and went back inside, muttering curses. The human sat back down across from her. She looked at him, trembling. Her lips parted, whispering, "Danger." "Yes, guards come. Soon." He leaned closer. "Why, who are you?" She shook her head quickly. No tell. Safe for you if no. But her eyes gave away the truth. She was hiding something heavy, something that could bring trouble to anyone who helped her. The human studied her for a moment, then sighed. "Fine, keep your secret, for now. But you're not going back to the street tonight." Her eyes widened. "No, can't." "Yes," he said firmly. "You'll come with me." Before she could answer, the sound of heavy boots echoed down the street. A group of armored guards marched into the square. Their weapons glowed faintly under the neon lights. The alien woman froze. Her entire body went stiff. The food container slipped from her trembling hands and fell to the ground. She whispered one word, full of fear. "Them." The guards stopped nearby, scanning the area. Their leader barked orders. "Search every corner. The exile was seen around here." The woman pulled her cloak tighter around her shoulders, her head lowering as if she wanted to vanish into the shadows. Her breathing grew fast, shallow. The human looked at her, then at the guards. He finally understood why she was so afraid, why the stall owner had shouted. She was not just poor, she was hunted, and now danger stood only a few steps away. The woman grabbed his sleeve with trembling fingers. Her whisper was desperate, almost broken. "Please, don't give me." The human's heart pounded. He had only known her for minutes, yet he could not ignore her plea. Something inside him burned with anger at the thought of handing her over. The guard's leader looked around. his eyes narrowing at the sight of the human and the cloaked figure. He stepped closer, suspicion clear on his face. The human stood, moving slightly in front of her, blocking the guard's view. His jaw tightened as he prepared to face what was coming. The city square went silent, tension thick in the air. The alien woman clutched her cloak, whispering one last word that only he could hear. Help. The guard's boots thudded against the wet pavement, the sound echoing off the neon walls. Their armor glowed faintly blue, the sharp edges catching light from the signs above. Each step felt heavy, like thunder rolling closer. The alien woman clutched the edge of the table, her knuckles white, her whole body shaking. She pulled her hood lower, hiding her face in the shadows. Her lips moved silently, as if praying. The human could feel her fear. He didn't understand everything, but he knew one thing. If those guards saw her, something terrible would happen. The lead guard stopped near the stall. His eyes scanned the crowd. "The exile was sighted here," he barked. "Female, weak but dangerous. If anyone hides her, you share her punishment." The stall owner stepped forward quickly, bowing low. "Of course, Captain. I would never hide her. My stall is clean, safe." He pointed his 4 eyes toward the human, but I'd maybe ask him. "He has been feeding strays." The guard's gaze turned, cold and sharp, landing on the human. His eyes narrowed at the sight of the cloaked figure sitting beside him. "And who is that?" The human's heart raced. He looked at the woman. Her hands trembled, her breathing fast. She looked ready to faint. Her eyes darted toward him, pleading, begging. Something in her eyes stopped him from answering. He stood slowly, keeping himself between the guard and her. "A traveler," he said firmly. "She's no threat." The guard didn't believe so easily. He stepped closer, lowering his head to study the cloaked figure. "Let me see her face." The woman's shoulders shook violently. Her hands clutched the container of food, though half of it had already spilled on the ground. Her lips moved again, but this time a sound came out, soft, broken, but clear. "Please." "No," the human blinked. It was the first time he had heard her voice. Her words were slow, heavy, as if each one cost her strength. The voice carried fear, but also desperation. The guard heard it too. He frowned, then grabbed the edge of her hood, pulling it back. The crowd gasped. Her face was revealed, sharp features, hollow cheeks, faint glowing lines under her skin, marks of her species. But there was more. A faint scar running across her temple, a brand burned into her skin. "The mark of an exile. There she is," one of the guards shouted. "The runaway!" The woman let out a low whimper, curling back in her seat. The guard reached for her arm. "You're coming with us." Before he could touch her, the human stepped forward, blocking the path. "She's done nothing wrong," he said. His voice was calm, but his hands were clenched into fists. The guard sneered. "She's an exile. That's worse than a crime. Step aside, human. This doesn't concern you." The woman lifted her head. For the first time, she spoke more than one word. Her voice cracked, but her meaning was clear. "If go, I die." Her words hung in the air. The human looked down at her. She was not exaggerating. Her eyes told the truth. If they took her, she would never come back. The guard growled. "Silence, exile." He reached again. The human acted without thinking. He grabbed the table and shoved it forward, knocking the guard back a step. The crowd gasped, pulling away. The stall owner shouted in fear, "You fool! You'll be killed!" The woman stared at the human in shock. No one had ever stood between her and the guards before. The lead guard snarled, drawing his weapon. A glowing blade hummed as it extended. "You dare resist?" The human spread his arms slightly, shielding the woman behind him. "She's not going with you." The guards tightened their circle. The air grew tense, heavy with danger. The woman's breathing was fast, her hands gripping his sleeve. She whispered shakily, "Why? Why you help me?" The human glanced back at her. For the first time he saw not just weakness but a spark of life in her eyes. He whispered, "Because you asked me." The guards lunged forward. The human reacted fast, grabbing a boiling pot from the stall's counter and hurling it at the nearest soldier. The hot liquid splashed across armor, making the guard roar in pain. "Run!" the human shouted. The woman stumbled to her feet, nearly falling. Her legs were weak, but the human grabbed her arm and pulled her along. Together they rushed into the rain-soaked alley. Shouts echoed behind them. After them. "Don't let them escape!" The woman gasped for air, her heart pounding in her chest. Her voice trembled as she spoke, half running, half dragged by him. "They never stop. Always hunt me. The human didn't slow down. Then we keep running until we find a place they can't reach. She looked at him, confusion in her eyes. No one had ever spoken like that to her. No one had ever included themselves in her struggle. It had always been her alone. But now he said we. The sound of guards chasing grew louder. Neon lights flickered overhead as they raced down narrow paths. Her strength was failing, but his grip kept her moving. Finally, they ducked into a dark tunnel beneath the street. The noise of pursuit faded slightly. The woman collapsed against the wall, gasping. She whispered, "Why, you risk your life?" The human crouched beside her, breathing hard but steady. He looked her in the eyes and said, "Because you spoke, because you asked for help, and because no one else would listen." The woman stared at him, tears in her glowing eyes. For the first time in a long time, she believed maybe, just maybe, she was not completely alone. But even as that fragile hope stirred, the sound of armored boots began to echo again from the far end of the tunnel. The hunt was not over. The tunnel smelled of rust and damp stone. Water dripped from pipes overhead, echoing in the silence. The human and the alien woman pressed themselves against the cold wall, trying to catch their breath. For a moment, only the sound of her weak breathing filled the air. But then, boots. Heavy boots. The sharp rhythm of armored feet came closer, bouncing off the tunnel walls like drums of war. The woman's body stiffened. She whispered with a shaking voice, "They... come." The human clenched his jaw. He could already see the glow of weapons flickering at the far end of the tunnel. The guards were not far behind. "Stay behind me," he said. His voice was calm, though his heart pounded like a hammer. She gripped his sleeve tightly, eyes wide with fear. "No, if they take me, I die. If you fight, you die too." The human looked at her, his eyes steady. "Maybe, but I won't let them drag you away." Before she could respond, shadows moved at the tunnel's mouth. 5 guards appeared, armored and armed. Their leader stepped forward, his glowing blade humming, casting blue light across the walls. "There you are," he growled. "The exile and her fool protector." The guards spread out, blocking the exit. The tunnel was too narrow to slip past them. The human's mind raced. No weapons, no plan, only courage. The lead guard pointed his blade at the alien woman. "You belong to the council. By law, you return with us." Her voice cracked as she whispered, "No, no, go back, please," the guard sneered. "You don't have a choice." The human stepped forward, placing himself directly in their path. His boots splashed in a shallow puddle. "She stays here." The guards laughed, the sound cold and cruel. "You dare?" one of them said. "A human protecting an exile?" The human didn't move. His fists tightened. "I said she stays." The laughter stopped. The leader's expression hardened. "Very well. If you want to die with her, we'll grant your wish." With a roar, 2 guards lunged forward. Their blades sliced through the air, glowing bright in the dark tunnel. The human grabbed a loose pipe from the ground, swinging it with all his strength. The metal clanged against a guard's helmet, knocking him sideways. Sparks flew. The woman gasped, covering her mouth. She had never seen someone fight for her before. The second guard slashed at the human. He barely dodged, the blade grazing his jacket, burning the fabric. He stumbled back, but his grip on the pipe stayed strong. The leader stepped closer, his blade raised high. "Pathetic," he snarled. "One human against trained soldiers?" The human's chest heaved with every breath, but his eyes didn't waver. "Maybe I can't win," he said, "but I won't let you touch her." The woman's heart throbbed painfully. Her eyes glowed faintly, not from strength, but from something buried deep, something she had tried to forget. The guards moved in again. The human swung the pipe wildly, hitting one guard's weapon and knocking it from his hands. The blade clattered to the ground, sliding across the wet floor. "Get it," the woman shouted. The human dove for the weapon, but another guard kicked him hard, sending him sprawling. Pain shot through his ribs. He groaned, but before the guard could strike again, the woman crawled forward, her thin fingers grabbing the fallen blade. The weapon hummed in her grip. She stared at it, her body trembling. The guards froze for a split second. Their eyes widened. "She can't," one whispered. "She's too weak." But the blade responded to her touch, glowing brighter. The woman stood shakily, her shoulders rising. She pointed the weapon toward the guards. Her voice cracked, but it carried through the tunnel. "Stay back." The human looked up, shocked. This weak, starving woman suddenly looked different. Still fragile, but with a spark of power. The guards growled. "Kill them both." Chaos exploded. The human swung his pipe again, slamming into one soldier's leg. The alien woman slashed with the glowing blade. Her movements clumsy but filled with desperation. Sparks flew as metal clashed in the dark. The fight was uneven, but the human and the woman fought side by side. He blocked blows with his pipe. She struck out with the stolen blade. Their survival was only possible because they moved together. At last, the leader raised his hand. "Enough," he barked. The remaining guards stepped back, breathing heavily. The leader's eyes burned with fury as he glared at the woman. "You can fight today," he said darkly, "but you can't run forever. We will find you, and next time no human will save you." With that, he signaled his men. Reluctantly, the guards retreated into the shadows, their boots fading into silence. The woman's knees gave out. She dropped the glowing blade and it clattered loudly. Her chest heaved as she gasped for air. The human rushed to her side, catching her before she collapsed fully. "You're safe," he whispered, though his own body ached with bruises. Her glowing eyes lifted to his, full of tears. Why you fight?" she asked again, her voice breaking. He gave a weak smile. "Because you asked for help, and because I couldn't stand by." She looked at him as if trying to believe his words. For the first time, something inside her shifted. A fragile piece of trust began to form. But far above, in the city's towers, the news of the fight was already spreading. Wanted posters would soon carry both their faces. Their real trouble had only just begun. The tunnel was quiet again, but the silence was heavy. Drops of water still echoed from the pipes, falling into puddles with soft plinks. The human leaned against the wall, his breath rough, his ribs aching from the kick. Beside him, the alien woman clutched her thin chest, trembling with exhaustion. The glowing blade lay on the ground between them, its light slowly fading as if the weapon itself was alive and angry at being dropped. For a long moment, neither spoke. The fight had ended, but their danger had only grown. The woman broke the silence first. Her voice was low, hoarse, and filled with shame. "You should not have done this. They will hunt you too now." The human wiped blood from the corner of his lip. His smile was small, tired. "They were already hunting you. I couldn't just walk away." She shook her head weakly. "But now, you are exile too, by law." The word exile hung in the air like poison. He didn't fully understand what it meant in her world, but he saw its weight on her shoulders. It wasn't just a word. It was a curse. He studied her face, thin, pale, hollow from hunger. Yet her eyes glowed faintly, carrying a strange fire. He thought about the way she had lifted the blade, how it had responded to her touch. There was something about her he didn't understand, but he knew one thing. She was not ordinary. The sound of distant alarms cut through the night. Faint voices echoed through the tunnels above, distorted by speakers. Exile sighted near the lower districts. Human accomplice. Wanted alive, the woman flinched. Her nails dug into her palms as she whispered, "Now, your life is broken too. Because of me." The human looked at her, his expression steady. "I made a choice, and I don't regret it." She stared at him, stunned. No one had ever spoken like that before. No one had ever chosen her over their own safety. For years she had believed kindness was dead. Yet here he was. The echo of boots returned, faint but growing louder. The guards hadn't given up. They were spreading through the tunnels, searching every corner. The woman's fear rose again. She pulled on his sleeve desperately. "Run away from me. If they catch, say I forced you. They might let you live." The human shook his head firmly. "Not happening." She blinked at him, confusion and frustration twisting inside her. "Why, you don't even know me." "I am nothing. I am broken." He leaned closer, his voice calm but fierce. "You asked for food. You asked for help. That was enough for me." Tears burned in her glowing eyes. She had begged before. Begged strangers, begged family, begged her own people. No one had listened. Until now, the sound of boots grew louder. They were running out of time. The human stood, picking up the glowing blade from the ground. The hum vibrated in his hands. It felt heavy, strange, but he gripped it tightly. He held it out toward her. "Take it, you know how it works." "Better than me?" Her hands shook as she stared at the weapon. Memories flooded her mind. Training halls, her father's voice, the betrayal of her own blood. She closed her eyes, shaking her head. "No, I cannot. If I fight them again, they will bring more. They will not stop." "Then what?" the human asked. She looked at him, her voice breaking. "We must leave this city, now. If we stay, we both die." Leaving the city meant passing through guarded checkpoints, dangerous streets, and patrols watching every road. It was madness, but staying here was death. The human hesitated for a long moment, then nodded. Then we leave. Her breath caught in her throat. She had not expected him to agree so easily. You would abandon everything? For me? He looked at her steadily. I never belonged here anyway, and you deserve a chance. The boots were closer now, echoing from both ends of the tunnel. Their time was gone. The human grabbed her hand. It was cold, fragile, but she squeezed back, desperate. Together they ran through the darkness, their footsteps splashing through puddles. At the end of the tunnel, faint light spilled from a broken grate. The woman squeezed through first, then reached back to pull him out. They stumbled onto a deserted street behind the city's old factories. Steam rose from vents, the air heavy with smoke. The city skyline loomed in the distance, glowing towers reaching high, guards flying patrol ships between them. The woman pressed against the wall, clutching her chest. Her voice shook. There is one way out. The old river gates. Abandoned long ago, but it is far. The human glanced around, scanning for patrols. Then we go there, her voice cracked. It's dangerous. They'll expect escape attempts. Many traps. He squeezed her shoulder gently. Dangerous or not, it's better than waiting for them to catch us. She looked at him for a long moment, searching his face. Finally, she nodded. The choice was made. They would not hide. They would run. As they slipped into the shadows of the factory streets, posters began appearing on every glowing screen above. Wanted, the exile, the human, reward for capture. Dead or alive? The woman's heart sank at the sight. Her lips whispered in fear. No turning back now. The human gripped her hand tighter. Then we go forward. And together they vanished into the smoke-filled night, stepping deeper into a future neither of them could predict. The old factory street stretched into darkness, filled with broken machines and rusting pipes. Smoke hissed from vents, covering the air with a bitter smell. The human guided the alien woman carefully, his hand steady on her arm. She stumbled often, her legs weak from hunger and fear, but she forced herself to keep moving. They ducked into an abandoned storage room. The walls were cracked, the floor covered with dust. Broken crates lay in the corners, and a single flickering light buzzed overhead. It was quiet here, away from the guards. For now. The woman sank to the floor, pulling her torn cloak tighter. Her chest rose and fell quickly, every breath rough. The human crouched beside her, concern written across his face. You need to rest, he said softly. She shook her head, her glowing eyes darting to the door. No rest. They find us. Always find. He sighed, but he didn't push her. Instead, he sat down across from her, leaning against a crate. His ribs still ached, his body tired, but his mind was sharper than ever. He had questions, and he needed answers. Who are you really? He asked. His voice was calm, but firm. The guards. They weren't just chasing a beggar. They called you exile. They called you runaway. What does it mean? The woman froze. Her fingers gripped the edge of her cloak so tightly that her knuckles turned white. For a long moment she stayed silent, staring at the floor. Finally she whispered, You should not know. Dangerous for you. I already risked everything, the human said. If I don't know what I'm facing, I can't help you. Her glowing eyes lifted slowly to meet his. He saw the pain inside them, the shame and the fear. She closed her eyes and drew in a shaky breath. My name is Sira. The word sounded heavy, as if it had been locked away for years. I was born, not as beggar. I was born in the high towers, the ruling halls of this city. The human's eyes widened slightly. He hadn't expected that. Sira continued, her voice trembling. My father was a leader, a war chief. My family had power, soldiers, everything. I was daughter of strength. I was trained to fight, to lead. The blade you gave me, it once belonged to my house. She paused, her hands shaking. Memories flickered in her mind. Bright training halls, her father's proud smile, her siblings sparring by her side. All of it gone now. What happened? The human asked quietly. Her face twisted with pain. I was weak, she whispered. Born smaller than others, slower, softer. My brothers and sisters were strong. They fought in wars. They won glory. But me, I failed. Every test I failed. I could not carry heavy weapons. I could not win duels. My family called me shame. Her voice cracked. Tears rolled down her pale cheeks. Then one day a war broke out. My father sent us all to fight. I tried, I fought. But I was wounded and could not stand. When we returned, I was branded as coward. She touched the scar on her temple, the mark of exile. The human's chest tightened. He finally understood. They cast me out, Sira whispered, her voice hollow. Said I was useless. Said I was burden. I begged. Begged to stay, begged to prove myself again. But they chained me, burned the mark, and threw me into the streets. From that day I was not daughter, not warrior, not even person. Just exile. Her body shook with sobs. She covered her face with her hands, ashamed to be seen in such weakness. The human didn't speak right away. He let her cry, let her pain spill out. Then after a long silence, he said, "That doesn't make you worthless." She looked up sharply, her eyes wet. "You don't understand. In my people's eyes, exile means death. No one gives food. No one gives shelter. Anyone who helps is punished. That's why I ate from dog's bowl." He leaned forward, his voice steady and firm. "Then your people are wrong. Being weak doesn't mean you don't deserve to live. It doesn't mean you don't deserve kindness." Her lips trembled. No one had ever said that to her before. But before hope could settle, a sharp noise cut through the silence. A loud crack from the street outside. Then another, boots. Dozens of them, Sira's face drained of color. "They found us." The human stood, scanning the room. His eyes fell on a broken hatch leading to the factory's underground pipes. He grabbed her hand. "Come on." "We're not done yet." She hesitated, fear pulling her back. "No, too many. Better if you leave me. If they catch me, maybe they spare you." He pulled her forward, shaking his head firmly. "I told you before. I'm not leaving you. If they want to take you, they'll have to take me too." Her chest ached at his words. In that moment, something inside her shifted. For years, she had been told she was nothing. But now someone stood beside her, not for power, not for reward, just because he chose to. The boots outside grew louder. Voices shouted commands. The human pulled open the hatch. Cold air rushed up from below. "Go," he whispered. "I'll follow." She looked at him, glowing, tears in her eyes. For the first time in years, she whispered her truth without shame. "My name is Sira, daughter of the fallen house. And if I live, it will be because of you." The human smiled faintly. "Then let's make sure you live." Together they disappeared into the dark pipes below, while the guards stormed the empty storage room above. The hunt was far from over. But now the human finally knew the truth. And with that truth, his choice had become unshakable. The underground pipes were cold and narrow. Rusted water dripped down and the air smelled of metal and mold. The human crawled ahead with a small light in his hand, guiding the way. Behind him, Sira moved slowly, her body weak but her eyes steady. Above them, muffled sounds echoed, guards shouting, weapons humming. The city was alive with the hunt. They were no longer chasing only an exile. Now the human's face was on every screen too. Sira's voice broke the silence. "Because of me, you lost your life. No safe place now, no home." The human glanced back, his light catching her pale face. "I didn't lose anything," he said firmly. "I chose this. That means it's mine." Her lips trembled. His words filled her with a strange strength, something she had not felt in years. After hours of crawling, they finally reached an exit grate. The human pushed it open and they stumbled into the night air. They were outside the city walls now. Before them stretched the broken riverbed, dry, cracked, and filled with old ruins of machines. In the distance, dark mountains rose under the stars, but they were not alone. From the shadows of the ruins, armored figures stepped forward. The guards had predicted their escape route. A dozen soldiers surrounded them, glowing weapons raised. The leader from before emerged, his blade humming bright. His voice carried across the dry air. "End of the road, exile. And you, human, you had your chance to walk away. Now you share her fate." Sira's heart sank. Her legs shook, but she forced herself to stand tall. She whispered, "I told you. They never stop." The human stepped in front of her, his fists tight around the stolen blade he had carried from the tunnel. He raised it, though his grip was rough and clumsy. His voice was steady. "Then we don't stop either." The guards advanced. The ground shook under their boots. Sira's breathing quickened. She felt powerless, weak, but then she saw him, standing in front of her without fear, choosing her again and again. Something inside her broke free. Her eyes glowed brighter, a deep blue light shining from within. The mark of exile on her temple burned faintly, but instead of shame, it now carried fire. Her people had told her she was weak, but in this moment she refused to be. She stepped forward, standing beside the human. Her thin hands wrapped around the blade with his, steadying it. Their eyes met for a second. No words were needed. The guards charged. The human swung the blade with raw strength, striking the first soldier's weapon aside. Sparks flew as the clash echoed in the night. Sierra moved with him, her instincts guiding her strikes. She wasn't perfect, but together they were fast. Unpredictable. The soldiers tried to overwhelm them, but the human fought with cleverness, kicking dust into eyes. Using the terrain, grabbing old pipes as shields, Sierra followed his lead, her glowing eyes blazing as if fire itself pushed her forward. One by one, guards fell back, groaning and cursing. The leader snarled, stepping in with fury. His blade slashed down, almost striking the human's shoulder, but Sierra blocked at the last second. The force pushed her back, but she didn't fall. The leader roared, "You are exile. You are nothing." Sierra's voice shook, but it was loud enough to cut the night. "I am not nothing. I am Sierra." Her blade struck with sudden force, clashing against his, sparks exploding. The human joined her, pushing with all his strength. Together they knocked the leader's blade from his hands. It fell to the cracked ground with a hiss. Silence followed. The other guards froze, staring in shock. Sierra stood tall, her chest heaving, her glowing eyes steady. She no longer looked like a starving exile. She looked like someone reborn. The human picked up the fallen weapon and pointed it at the guards. "Leave, or the next time you won't walk away." The guards hesitated, then slowly retreated into the shadows, dragging their wounded with them. The leader spat blood, glaring at them, but he too turned away. When the last soldier disappeared, the dry riverbed was silent again. The stars above looked brighter, clearer. Sierra dropped the blade, her knees weak. The human caught her before she fell. She leaned against him, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why did you never let go of me?" He smiled faintly, brushing dirt from her face. "Because you deserve more than chains. Because you're worth fighting for." Her heart ached, but not from shame this time. From hope. Real hope. For the first time since her exile, she believed she had a future. A future not as a beggar or runaway, but as someone who could live, fight, and belong. She looked at the human, her voice soft but steady. "Then let us walk forward together." He nodded. Together. They turned toward the mountains, leaving the city and its cruelty behind. The night air was cold, but it carried freedom, and in that moment a new beginning was born. One where an exile and a human walked side by side, not as outcasts, but as survivors who had chosen each other.